Say hello to the Toyota GT86. It's a car you know better than your own face, so me telling you that it's the purest rear-wheel drive sports car currently on sale will come as no surprise. You'll also know that it has 200 horsepower and 151 pounds-foot of torque, features a low centre of gravity thanks to its 2-litre boxer engine, and weighs just 1,275 kilograms. It goes sideways, it does burnouts. And this new 2017 facelift model features a redesigned front bumper with a larger mouth, retuned shock absorbers, and revised spring rates. There are also new LED lights and the option of a boot spoiler delete. The changes are good ones, meaning that the GT86 remains one of the best bang-for-buck new cars on the market. And with prices starting from £23,000, it's a car that isn't a million miles out of reach for anyone who's saved hard for a few years. But what do you do if you want a cool coupe at a price that you can afford right now? The word Celica was derived from the Latin word Celica, meaning heavenly or celestial. And while I've never described a car with either of these words, it's time to find out if driving it is as good as the name suggests. Welcome everybody to the 7th and last generation of the Toyota Celica. This is the cheapest car that we have ever featured on the awesome affordable car series. And a car like this you can pick up for around £700 or £800. This is actually a facelift 2005 model, which our assistant producer George paid £1,800 for. Thank you very much for letting me drive your car, George. What we have here is the 140 horsepower 1.8 litre 1ZZ FE engine that gives this car a top speed of just under 130 miles an hour and a 0 to 62 time in the book of 8.7 seconds. Two power versions of the 7th gen Celica were offered, including the 1.8 litre 1ZZ FE engine with 140 horsepower and 128 pound-foot of torque, and the spicier 1.8 litre 2ZZ GE, which was co-developed with Yamaha to produce 192 horsepower and 133 pounds-foot of torque in Europe and Japan. That actually makes that car faster than the new GT86, the car that you want to buy, but that you can't afford. So this particular car has 102,000 miles on the clock. We've got a 6-speed manual gearbox. It's pretty decent. There's no kind of horrible notches and stuff. It feels all right. Now, as for the way the 140 horsepower Celica drives, well, let's start with the noise. I'm going to put it into 3rd gear. We are currently doing 50 miles an hour. Going to floor it. Not a lot is happening. Progress is not particularly swift in this, but when you do get up to speed, then I mean, it's not too bad. The ride itself is fairly wallowy, a bit roly-poly, but when you're spending upwards of £700 for a Celica similar to this, I don't think there's a better car for the money when you're young, and you can afford the insurance as well. So George, our assistant producer, he pays £1,300 for this. It is cheaper to insure this Celica than it is to insure a 1.6 Civic. How does that even work? This car is actually fairly entertaining. We've got front-wheel drive versus the GT86's rear-wheel drive. I mean, they're essentially similar-ish cars. Similar-ish engine capacities, similar-ish weights. This car weighs 1,185 kilograms. And the GT86 is about 100 kg more, so this is actually the lighter of the two. The interior of both cars is fairly similar, really. You got a lot of horrible hard plastics, but you got more room in this car. You've got more leg room in the back in this car. And what I like about the Celica versus the GT86 is that the hatch opens completely like that, so you've got limitless space. Well, not limitless, but you've got way more space than you do in the GT86. And I reckon with a few modifications to a car like this, so we're talking coilovers, a nice exhaust, maybe a lightened flywheel, and some decent wheels, this car would look, sit, and drive way better than it does already. At the moment, it's sitting a little bit high, but as standard, the 7th generation Celica is a really, really good and affordable way into coupe ownership. Sure, it's front-wheel drive, but when you're 18, 19, it's not really the best idea to have something rear-wheel drive because you will kill yourself. To answer the question of whether the Celica is as good as the name suggests, it's a no from someone like me who's in his 30s and who's been desensitized by cars with hundreds more horsepower. But when you compare it to the cars that your mates are going to be driving, we're talking 1 litre Fiestas in the UK, probably old boxes in the UK actually, and they're going to be paying similar insurance to you. And this car is going to be like leaps and bounds ahead in terms of build quality, performance, fun factor. You got loads of room in the back for your friends as well. And I like the cool electronic gauge for my fuel and my water temperature. The other thing that I like about the Celica, the 7th gen Celica, is that it does look pretty cool. I like the bonnet scoop, I quite like the curves. Just make sure that you buy one with a rear boot spoiler, because if you don't have a spoiler, then the car just looks, I mean, it looks hideous. It looks completely wrong. I don't know why there are cars cruising around without a boot spoiler. It's offensive. It annoys me. I'm getting angry now. Ethan, get out, I'm angry. Get out.
The GT86 doesn't have a boot spoiler.
Yeah, but it's all right on the GT86. My advice to you guys, if you're bugging your parents or if you're scrimping and saving to get your first Civic or your first Golf or Polo or anything like that, then consider a car like this, a cool coupe. You all like the GT86, it's one of the coolest cars around, so why not step into something that is almost like it? It's a cool coupe, your friends will love it, girls are gonna love it as well, especially if you got some coilover suspension and a lightened flywheel. That's what turns girls on. Ooh, you've got a lightened flywheel. I can really feel the pickup in the revs there. Oh, it's so much better than standard. Let's go to bed. Now, things to look out for if you want to get a Celica like this. The seals on the boot, they tend to fail, so water can get in and then make the rear seats wet, as you found out last week when you had a really wet ass. The gearbox as well, I've read on forums, can be a little bit temperamental, but if you change the gearbox oil, then that sorts it out. Engine failure is very, very rare. The main problems with the Celicas are suspension problems, which are, I don't know, pretty fixable if you like to span it yourself. So in summary, I think the Celica is a decent first kind of proper sporty fun car. Spend less money, buy a cooler car, and spend less money again on insurance. It's a no-brainer.
So if you want to tune cars, learn that you have to work your ass off before you tune your cars. If you want something, you go out there and you work for it. And the harder you work, the more you can do. So that's my general advice. And then just build whatever you think is cool. And don't listen to anyone. You know, it's your build, your idea, so just do it.